The Homewrecker and the Neon Annihilator, two very different looking weapons, but fundamentally the same really. It may not be so immediate at first, but both of them serve the same purpose overall, and that is being a supportive weapon, mainly for use with engineers, a pyro weapon if you will. Now that may not be so obvious from first glance, seeing as how the Homewrecker is the most obvious choice for that playstyle, and with good reason. However, I'd argue that the Neon Annihilator is as good, if not better, in terms of stats overall. Now of course, to do this properly we need to look at what each weapon is capable of, so let's begin with the one that was released first back in 2010, the Homewrecker. The Homewrecker on hit does plus 100% damage to enemy buildings, taking it from 65 damage all the way up to 130 damage, effectively destroying a level 3 sentry, or any building in fact, in 2 swings. This seems pretty damn good, and it gets even better as swinging the Homewrecker at friendly buildings with sappers attached to them will destroy the sappers in a single swing, effectively being a helpful tool when a friendly engineer isn't around to tend to his buildings. Funnily enough, removing sappers wasn't even part of the weapon until 2 months after the initial release. This all does come with the downside of dealing minus 25% damage to players, which takes it down from the base 65 damage to around 48 to 49 damage. As you can see, the Homewrecker is really good with and against engineer buildings, either assisting friendly engineers or making quick work of enemy buildings. The damage decrease against enemy players, however, makes it very situational to be honest, as the only really effective situation is, like I said, with engineers. If you don't have an engineer to assist, or if the enemy team doesn't have a turtle engineer, then it's effectively a worse stock. This of course makes the Homewrecker fit within the supportive category of pyro weapons, useful but only in specific situations. Random trivia time. Did you know that the original name of the weapon on the Game Banana page for the Homewrecker was Mr. Sledge? And not only that, but it was a reskin of the Extinguisher. It's cool to see them make it its own weapon, and a pretty damn good one at that. You're also able to earn the Arsonist achievement by removing sappers with it. The Arsonist achievement for the pyro requires you to destroy 50 buildings as pyro, and since sappers are considered buildings in-game, destroying a sapper will earn you a point towards this achievement. So now let's talk about the Neon Annihilator. Released in a Triad pack, a promotional pack for the game Sleeping Dogs back in 2012, the Neon Annihilator is, well, a neon sign for the pyro, which has some interesting stats to say the least. Like the previously mentioned Homewrecker, the Neon Annihilator is able to remove sappers, but not as easily. See, with the Homewrecker, the first swing destroys the sapper instantly, but the Neon Annihilator requires you to swing twice, taking longer to remove said sapper. Weird stat aside, the Neon Annihilator is also able to crit against wet players. Of course, there's multiple ways to make an enemy wet, such as the Gerati, Mad Milk, and also submerging them in water. Weirdly enough, the Gas Passer doesn't do this, which would make a great combo weapon, which I talked about in a previous video, link in the description if you want to see my opinions on that whole thing. With this ability and many other pyro weapons, the ability to gain random crits is gone, and it also has a minus 20% damage penalty against players, just like the Homewrecker. What? I find it odd how they specify it against players when this is essentially better against players than buildings. It's just weird. Anyway, this is a rather odd weapon overall. Crits against wet players is definitely a unique stat, but as far as I know, it is only available to this one weapon. However, it is very situational, as most of the maps in the game don't have water, and comboing it with a sniper or scout is hard to come by these days. No random crits is to be expected, as any other weapon that allows the player to crit under a certain condition usually has this. The weirdest part of all of this is the remove sappers and damage penalty sections. The Neon essentially does its job way worse than the Homewrecker, making it worthless in that regard to be fair. And the penalty is weird, as it isn't a building specific weapon like the Homewrecker, meaning the fact that it is only effective on players makes it rather odd. Random trivia time. Again. Apparently the texture has a nod to the Face Punch forums on it with DEF2FP, and the blue skin was going to have Props 2FP, but was changed by Valve. Not sure what those mean, but it's a nice gesture at least. On the update page, the damage penalty was incorrectly labelled as the firing speed penalty, reading minus 20% firing speed instead. In my opinion, this would be more fitting than the damage penalty overall. This weapon was also originally pitched as a Chinese lantern. However, the idea was ultimately dropped by a suggestion by Valve, as they said it resembled the baleful beacon too much, which was an unused weapon for the pyro back in the 2011 Halloween update. Now we have all that out of the way, let's get into the nitty gritty, the comparisons. Alright, so since both weapons are able to remove sappers, the obvious winner in this category goes to the Homewrecker hands down. Being able to remove a sapper in one swing compared to the Annihilator's 2 swings, that time that it takes to remove the sapper with the Neon Annihilator could be the factor that either saves or destroys the building, as the sapper will still be attached in between each swing. So the obvious winner here is the Homewrecker. Next we will analyse the other stats they have and see what is better overall. The Homewrecker, like said previously, is able to do 130 damage against enemy buildings and does minus 25% damage to enemy players. This is a fair trade-off, but as I said, it brings the weapon down to certain situations, and besides, in uber charge moments, medics aren't going to uber the pyro over a heavy or soldier, who have better tools to take out an enemy's nest. So this is very situational in all fairness. Now with the Neon Annihilator, we also have a damage penalty, but only a minus 20% damage penalty, unlike the minus 25% penalty of the Homewrecker, so the Neon Annihilator has the upper hand in terms of base damage. However, it does not random crit unlike the Homewrecker either. But hands down the most unique feature is the critical damage against wet players stats. This is, like I said, situational in its own right, but I feel like it's much less situational compared to the Homewrecker's building damage bonus. So overall, in my opinion, the Neon Annihilator beats the Homewrecker, but not by much. Now we come down to the final part. How fun is it to use? Well, with the Homewrecker, it is very satisfying to remove sappers in one blow, and denying that enemy spy a win is always a great feeling. But the Neon Annihilator is a much more versatile weapon overall. It takes longer to remove a sapper, but provides the same feeling of satisfaction when done. And when you kill a wet player, oh boy is that cool. When you kill a wet player with the Annihilator, they will be vaporized, turning them black and making them hover in midair and then disappear into ashes. I don't care what you say, getting the kill with the Neon Annihilator is super satisfying, and not to mention the fact that there's a 25% chance that it will perform a specific disintegration animation when killed this way, making it even more cool when it happens. Also, when taunting, it does a cool bass guitar sound. So that's a bonus. So yeah, overall, the winner is the Neon Annihilator. Don't get me wrong, both weapons are superb and have their own uses and do well. The Homewrecker with it being an effective pyro weapon, and the Neon Annihilator being a great pyro shark weapon. But at the end of the day, it's up to you on what is more fun and effective. I just like stating my opinion, and the Neon Annihilator is my choice overall. But what do you all think? Let me know what you like to use more overall down below. And as always, this has been your Fempyro enthusiast BonOakley, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.